What is up, everybody? Today we're doing something a little different. We are doing a versus series. We're starting a versus series. And the versus series is where we directly compare two tires against one another and they face off. Doesn't necessarily have to be tires, I guess. I might do verses of other stuff. But today it's tires, and we are doing a JConcepts Rupture versus the new-ish upgrade RC razor wires. Ruptures and razor wires are roughly the same size. They are similar design, and I think they'll be a good tire to compare against one another. My versus series, what I'm going to do is basically the videos are going to be somewhat normal. I'm going to run the Ruptures on my course, and then right after that, I'm going to run the razor wires on my course. The difference is going to be that they are going to be back-to-back in a single video, and the razor wires and the Ruptures will run the exact same inserts and wheels. And by the exact same inserts and wheels, I mean after I run the Ruptures, we will go up, we will take the inserts out of these, unmount them off the beadlocks, take the inserts out, put them in the razor wires, put the razor wires on these beadlocks, and run them. And the purpose of that is to try to be as similar as possible when I'm comparing these. The caveat is, like I've talked about in a previous video, when you're comparing two products, especially when you're comparing two crawler tires, Rupture's doing very well in the side hill here, by the way, able to take the more difficult line, just right amount of slide, although now the rear doesn't want to slip and allow me to reposition quite like I like to, but we're still able to do it. I've talked about before how if you compare tires side by side, it is a good idea to run the same inserts, the same wheels, etc. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a fully fair comparison because, for example, what if the Ruptures do better with the 3D inserts that are in them right now, which are SL3D 3D inserts specifically printed for the Rupture, a little bit larger size than your standard 3D insert. But what if the Ruptures do better than the razor wires do with 3D inserts, but the razor wires do better than the Ruptures with like a Crawler Innovations Little Nova? And so that's what we're going to test. But our versus series, I'm not going to test that all at once. So what I'll do is this video is going to be Ruptures running first. That dismount was driver error, not tire. It's going to be Ruptures running first, razor wires running right after. And that will be the conclusion of this video. There will be a verdict at the end of this video on which tire did better with this insert. But then there will be a rematch series, in which case we do the Rupture versus the razor wire again with a different tire insert. In this case, it's probably going to be Crawler Innovations Little Nova. And then depending on the outcome of that video is where we go next. So let's say that the razor wires win this series today with the 3D inserts. And then we run again and we do a video with Crawler Innovations and the Ruptures win. Then there will be a championship series, in which case the Ruptures would win, or the Ruptures would run with the insert that they won and with, and the razor wires would run with the insert they won with, and we would see who is the overall champion. But if the razor wires were to win both, then obviously they would be crowned champion. Or possibly we would do another round with a different insert, although probably not. If we get the same results with two different inserts, more than likely you can bet that you're establishing a trend there. So enough about that. I think the concept of it is a pretty easy idea to grasp. The videos really on their own are not going to be that much different than what you're used to, because it's just going to be a single video back to back, and then once we do the rematch, that'll be its own video. But that's how the versus series is going to work. Rupture struggling a bit on this obstacle, as everything has been recently. I've talked about this in a couple videos now, but this rock spent a significant amount of time underwater recently and has basically become a polished surface where there's little grip to be had. And now I just keep doing the same thing and tipping myself upside down. And I have noticed that since this obstacle has become like this, has become slippery and more difficult, tires running 3D inserts have been struggling more than tires running foams. And I think that's because 3D inserts bounce more. As you can see. Okay, let me concentrate. I got to get this with wheel speed. Whoop, too far. Too much wheel speed. Straight across. Let's come back. Also, this whole area down here has changed significantly. I think partially when it was underwater, some rock shifted around, but I think somebody came down here and was fishing or something, and they built like a platform to stand on, and they didn't mess up my obstacle. I'm just commenting on like all these rocks down here. This is kind of all different. And the rock that I used to dismount this obstacle is gone. But that's okay. I don't have to have it. And now I'm hung on my rear bumper. Give me that wheel speed to get up. There we go. All right. Rupture's able to do it with a little wheel speed and concentration. And look at all this trash down here. I'm going to come down here with a bag when I'm done, and maybe just when I take a break and clean this up. Like, there's a can there. There's a Doritos bag up there. There's a can there. You can see up here, somebody came down here and had a fire, which is fine. But obviously they were hanging out down here, drinking and eating Doritos, and I guess just assumed that they didn't need to clean up after themselves, because some people are just trash. Ruptures, as you have probably heard, are a pretty decent tire by most people's standards. I also believe that they're a pretty good tire, although I don't think that they are necessarily the best tire. They're definitely not the best tire for every circumstance. As I've talked about before, terrain matters, climate matters, rig matters. A Rupture will not perform the same on every single rig that it's put on. A Rupture will not perform the same in every single environment that it's run in. And so, I am sure that if you've been in the hobby for more than 10 minutes, 20 different people have recommended Ruptures to you. And it is not that I wouldn't recommend Ruptures, but I would recommend that when you're looking at any tire, you don't take a single person's word for how that tire is going to perform for you. Even if you only watch one video, one review, or read one review, or maybe you read no reviews, if you buy something, don't make assumptions just based off of the fact that people generally say that it's a really good tire, because I have personally seen Ruptures perform awful against tires that typically don't perform very well. So it's just kind of one of those weird nuanced things that happens in this hobby. Again, I'm not sitting here saying Ruptures aren't good tires. I think Ruptures are great tires. I like Ruptures. I think they work well more often than not. And this is not necessarily commentary on Ruptures specifically. This is commentary on crawler tires and really everything in general. Your mileage may vary. And the reason why I have been pointing this out more deliberately in the last couple videos is because I've seen a few things lately and had a few conversations with different people in the hobby. And I am really tired of, I'm not going to name any specific channels. And I don't even necessarily have specific channels in mind. I'm really not speaking on one channel in general. But I'm really tired of seeing reviews for things that are 5 or 7 minutes long, and the review is as much of taking a product out of the package as it is actually reviewing the product. And so often, they never have anything bad to say. Everything they review is excellent. And that's because most of what they review was sent to them for free, because they have a large channel and they have a lot of reach, and, you know, manufacturers want to get content out there. And I don't think that most manufacturers say, well, as long as you leave us a good review, we'll send this for free. But I think there's an underwritten fear that, well, if you leave too many reviews of a product from a manufacturer, they're going to stop sending you free stuff. And that's going to affect your ability to release content, at least release it for free. And so I think there's some inherent bias built into some of that. And the reason why I'm talking about that part of it right now is because the razor wires, which are going up against the Ruptures, were sent to me for free by Matt at A-Main Hobbies, who is the guy who is the brand manager. Ooh, that's really good, Ruptures. Now, part of that is because Ruptures are slightly taller than a normal Class 2. They're about 4.9 inches high, 4.85 inches high, compared to 4.7, 4.75. So that little tiny bit of extra height makes a big difference. That's why when people are like, oh, there's no difference between a 4.65 and a 4.75. Yeah, there is. But Matt reached out to me. He works at A-Main Hobbies. He is the guy who kind of designed, he's the brains behind Upgrade RC and behind the razor wire and the Rock Claw tires. And he came across my YouTube review of the Rock Claw tire and reached out to me to introduce himself and mostly just say thank you for the review. But he closed out his email by saying, if there's anything that I can do to help support your channel, let me know. And in conversations back and forth with him through email, I kind of just in passing asked him if you want to send me a set of razor wires. I haven't reviewed him yet. And I told him, I mean, if you don't, that's fine. I'm going to buy them. But he did send me those for free. And if you want the full details behind how all that transgressed in this week's giveaway video, I kind of discuss it in detail. But I want to be transparent about that because I know that you've probably seen a lot of content creators who say, well, just because somebody sent me something for free doesn't mean that I'm going to give a positive review. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And I think that there are a lot of content creators where that's true. And I'm not going to say names on those either because I want to be fair. I don't want to slander anybody specifically. And therefore, I'm just not going to mention names. But I think there's content creators where that's true. And I think there's content creators who say that, but they conveniently hardly ever have anything negative to say. And so my point is, I have a very small channel. I have like 30 subscribers as of recording in this video. And even I was sent a product for free because people want to get their products out there. And they know that, you know, especially if they believe in their product, as I believe Matt believes in his product. And Matt is very clear that if I don't like the razor wire, I'm going to leave a negative review of the razor wire. But it behooves companies to get their products out there, you know, to get as much content on their products as they can. But also, I think, I mean, he works at A-Main. He looked at my A-Main account when I asked him for the tires, and he asked me for my address, and that's really good. Very, very, very small amount of wheel speed to get up this obstacle. This is our most difficult obstacle on the course. Rupture is doing very good to get up there. Although, speaking of Upgrade RC, I will say, go watch the Rock Claw video and watch what they did on this obstacle. I'm not going to give any more spoilers than that, but go watch that video if you haven't seen it already. And see how they did on this obstacle. It'll be really interesting to see if the razor wires do as well. But anyway, not sure where I left off there, but oh, he'd asked for the account that I use to buy stuff on A-Main, and I mean, I think it's right now it's the beginning of August of 2025, and so far this year I've spent probably $6,000 on A-Main. So I don't have a problem buying things to review. I don't have a problem spending money. And all of this to say, I'm not trying to boast about how he cares about my opinion and wants my opinion on him. I don't think that's the case necessarily. Like, I mean, I think he does, but I don't think he does. I don't think he thinks that I'm an expert or anything. I think that he saw my review of the Rock Claw and realized that I'm a normal hobbyist. I am you, the viewer You guys who are watching this, I'm you. I'm not an expert. I have been crawling for a long time. I've got a lot of experience, but I don't go around claiming that I know stuff that other people don't. And I'm your everyday person. I'm the person who buys razor wires and rock claws to run them and drive them on rigs. And yeah, I buy stuff and review. And before I started this channel, I would spend money on things just to see how it performs. A lot of the tires that I've driven on camera are tires that I had bought previously that I have done kind of my own tests and reviews with before I was ever actually making content. I'm kind of going off on a rambling tangent here. I don't really know what my overall point is, other than I'm going to be honest about these comparisons. No matter how I come across a product, if somebody offers to help the channel or send me something for free, I'm probably not going to turn it down unless it is contingent on leaving a positive review. Again, Ruptures doing very well. No struggles at all with this obstacle. Ruptures doing what Ruptures do. Yeah, now this is not Rupture struggling. This is the idiot behind the wheel struggling to drive. But anyway, I thought it was pretty driver error. I thought it was pretty cool that he reached out to me. And the reason I thought it was cool that he reached out to me is because, you know, my channel's new. My channel's small. I don't have a lot of reach. I'm not like some industry person that people should care about my opinion. I'm just a guy who made a YouTube channel because I'm socially awkward and I want to share my hobby with people, but I'm weird about doing it in person. And so this is the way I'm doing it. And the fact that, I mean, the reason he reached out to me ultimately is because I left a review of the rock claws. And although it was a very positive review, it was an honest review. And there's not a lot of reviews out there for them. And so I think he just wanted to say thank you. But to me, that's impressive because we also had a little bit of back and forth on the few critiques I had of that tire and of the insert that were in that tire, which was also the Upgrade RC insert. He explained one of the critiques I had was price. Another critique I had was the insert. But he asked for input. And he wasn't asking for my input again because I know so much. He was asking for my input because I'm a customer. And when a company is asking their customers for input on how they can improve their products, what can we do better? Now, he's not promising me that he's going to pay attention to what I say. My critiques might be bullshit. My critiques might not be possible. You know, the thing with the price, for instance, I think that the Upgrade RC tires are too expensive, largely because they're a name that is not well known. And they are a proprietary house brand of A-Main Hobbies, which no matter how good they are, you're going to have a hurdle getting people over that right there. People are going to be like, well, what about Proline or JConcepts? Those are dedicated brands. And so I think they're too expensive. But he said, yeah, but it was tariffs. You know, we wanted them to be a little cheaper, but tariffs hit and we raised everything by 10%. And I get that. But just the fact that, you know, you have representatives at A-Main who are reaching out to people who are nothing more than a normal customer and saying, hey, thank you for your input. Let us know how else we can improve our products. Versus companies like Horizon who price gouge you, cancel events, don't do anything good for the hobby, and just acquire everything they can get their greedy fucking hands on and ruin it. That's the difference between a company that is run by enthusiasts and a company that is run by accountants. So we didn't talk about the Ruptures a whole lot during that review. And there's reasoning behind that. One, if you search YouTube for JConcepts Ruptures, I bet you there's several thousand reviews for them. But also, we will talk more about the tires and how they compare side by side at the end of this video. But as you know, I can't let dead air be dead air. I talk a lot. I don't know why. but that's the way it is. So we're going to pop these tires off. We're going to take them off of the wheel, and we're going to put the upgrades on, and we'll be back in a few. Hey guys, real quick, mounting up the razor wires, and just wanted to show you, this is a empty tire and an empty tire, and this is how the Rupture and razor wire compare side by side. As you can see, the razor wire is a little bit taller. That said, the Rupture has been run, the razor wire has not, and sometimes this can change a little bit. But the razor wire is definitely a taller tire, even though on the sidewall it is marked that it is 185 tall. I think it's taller than that. I do not have a set of calipers or anything out here with me, but I think in their listing they might say that it's like 5 inches tall. So I don't think that that's necessarily a dishonest thing, although it's strange that the sidewall says 185. I'm pretty sure the A-main listing is different. Carcass-wise, the Rupture and the razor wire feel similar, but the razor wire is noticeably thinner. Thin carcass usually means good performance on the rocks, but it can also lead to tearing of the sidewall. So we'll see how it does. Just wanted to show that real quick while I had them off, while I had them unmounted, and there were no other environmental factors affecting the height of the tires. The razor wires are noticeably taller than the Rupture. Alright guys, it's razor wire time. Now, a couple things of note, as you saw with the side-by-side comparison, the razor wires actually are a bit taller than the Ruptures. I'm not sure what happened the first time I measured. I took measurements again, and yeah, I don't really know how I missed that. And I took internal measurements again and came up with different numbers as well. Internal measurements are kind of hard to do, so they're not necessarily, I'm not surprised I screwed up on that, but that means that the 3D inserts from SL3D, oh wait, I went below this line. A little bit of side slide there from the rear, no big deal. The 3D inserts in here are a little bit smaller than would be optimal. I'm going to actually get on and see. Ooh, a lot of side slide there from the front, but no rollout yet. More collapse on that sidewall than I want. That is due, there's the rollout. That's due to the insert, that extra collapse. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can get a set of 3D inserts for these specifically, or I'll take some measurements and get some printed. So this Versus series, there might be 3 videos. There might be this one, then one with crawler innovations foams, because what I can do with the CI foams is put an extra tuning ring on these. I already run a tuning ring with the Ruptures, but I could do a dual tuning ring on these, and that would make up for the difference in size. So there might be a triple Versus series here. We might have 3 head-to-heads and a championship. We'll just see how they do. Undersized inserts is not always a bad thing. I thought that the rock claws bagged too much on the Upgrade RC inserts, and they ended up being fine. But these really are. Let's see if I can take this off without dropping it. That is what I don't love, which it's not bad. The whole sidewall's not collapsing, but if there were 2 more millimeters in insert height on that, it wouldn't be doing that, and that is going to contribute to rollouts on the side hill. And so because of that, I am going to call this a probable insert mismatch more than it is a tire, because while there is some side slide with these tires, I'm not seeing a whole lot. They're not just sliding, and the sliding I am seeing does appear to be related to that insert collapsing. Now, if I can get that rear to drop, we can pivot. Oh, now the front is going to be in a divot, and now we're getting to the most difficult part of the rock. So if I can pull out of this, that will actually be a pretty big win for the razor wire. And it looks like we might. Ooh, don't. Okay. Ooh, don't juice the throttle. Driver's side front is really squished down. Now we're caught up in a, oh, no. I wonder if I could caught up in this. The tires are sticky. That's not wrapped around the axle. That's just stuck to the tire. But it is definitely wanting to pull the passenger side up because of that. I think I got off of it. So I did take a reverse, but that reverse is because of that stupid weed. It is kind of wrapped around the axle. Okay. All right. Razor Wire is doing a really good job on the reposition. You really have to take side hill slowly, but as you can see from the wrap on that rear tire, I've got an insert issue here. The inserts are they're 3 or 4 millimeters probably in total undersized for this tire. So I'll tell you right now, this Versa series is going to be long because there's going to be at least 3 different comparisons and then possibly a championship. So let's just have fun today because we are running the wrong sized insert in here. And so some of what I do has to be taken with a grain of salt. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that it can't still perform amazing with this insert. And on the side hill, I'm pretty happy with that. If I had to give an edge to one tire or the other, it would be hard to do. I did the exact same thing with the Rupture. It would be hard to do because although the Rupture did it a little easier, it was a little smoother and wasn't as much work on my part, the upgrades took a harder line on the obstacle. Now, I think the Ruptures probably could have taken that harder line on the obstacle, but do I do reviews on probablys or do I do reviews on what I actually saw? Well, I typically do them on what I actually saw. However, I know the Rupture very well. And because of that, I'm going to say that as of right now, the tires are tied on the side hill. Would the Razor Wire take the lead with a proper insert? Can't speculate. We will test that in the future. The next inserts that will be tested between the two will be the Crawler Innovation Little Novas, because I have those. But I am going to either order or, well, yeah, I'll order some 3D inserts. I just got a 3D printer, and I'm not ready to start trying to 3D print inserts yet. So, but SL3D does custom sized. He might even have an insert already for this tire. So I'll take a look. We'll get a pair, and we will also do another side-by-side comparison with the Ruptures running their properly sized insert and the upgrades running theirs. Second obstacle, how will the upgrades do versus the Ruptures here? Ooh, little less slide back, not really walking up it. Same hop, maybe even a little worse hop. Could be because that insert's undersized. If you remember, the Rupture had to do a little bit of wheel speed to get across there, or to get up there. Razor Wire's looking like they probably will have to do the same. We'll give them one more chance without. Yeah, they're going to just bounce. Yeah, I got the rear bumper hung. Can we unhang that? Not in a great spot to try wheel speed. I need to get that bumper. Well, okay. I think, I mean, that's less wheel speed than I did with the Rupture. Not a lot. I think the Razor Wire edged out the Rupture just a hair right there. Now, our third obstacle was more technical than it is difficult. Ooh, Razor Wire. Did I drive that bad, or? Ooh, let's not crush our rig though. All right, unfortunately, right there, I wasn't paying enough attention. I think that was driver error. I suppose the positive side of the inserts in these being undersized for the purpose of this comparison is the added bag that these allow in the razor wires kind of takes away the height advantage that they would have versus a Rupture, because that height advantage, there's a couple obstacles where that extra height would make a big difference. But that's going to be pretty negated by the undersized insert. Obstacle 3, I think, again, we've got pretty close to a tie. Neither tire stood out among the other. Ruptures did really well right here. Walked up here without any issue. Let's see what the razor wires are going to do. Itty bitty bit of hesitation, and then right up. Again, too close to call. I would say that's a tie. What happens if we end in a tie? Well, we'll talk about that at the end of this video. This part coming off the rocks, I need to rebuild this. This used to not have, like, there's a big gap that it drops down into now that didn't used to exist. So this is, right now, this is not the tire struggling. This is me struggling to drive. I should have stayed over there where I could see, because now the issue is I just can't see. Ooh, can we pull up? You still see it? Yeah. I don't know if we have enough to grip on to actually, ooh. That would be really cool if I could pull this up, especially because I can't see the truck. Well, we pulled up and then we fell off the other side. Hold on. So, not for nothing, but this is the ledge that we just pulled up on with this basically ready to run truck, not a comp truck. This is the kind of divot that I'm talking about that we're dealing with now. I think there used to be a rock there or something that has moved. And I think I just need to stay over here and drive, because we fall down right in there. And I think that's where there used to be a rock. So I need to just change this. Either put a rock there or stay over here and drive it so I can actually see what I'm doing. So again, that was driver error. That's not going to count against the razor wire. And the impressive pull up onto that ledge is not going to count in their favor, because the Ruptures did not have a chance to do that, nor is that typically part of the course. Although, maybe I'll look into adding it. Because that was pretty cool. Again, Ruptures did this with no drama. Ruptures really did this whole course with no drama. There wasn't anything that they really struggled with. I had to take a little reverse there, right there. I believe that was driver error. I didn't see any sliding or anything. One thing I am noticing a difference between the Ruptures and the razor wires is I think the Ruptures have a little bit better steering response, which could mean that the upgrades have a little more forward drive, and, well, not necessarily more forward drive than the Ruptures, but it could mean that the upgrades have, they push. They have more forward drive than they do steering. I haven't seen anything severe yet. Let's see, the Ruptures took this line over here. Let's see if the upgrades can do the same line. Yes, they can. So I haven't seen anything extreme that necessarily causes me pause, but it does seem like the Ruptures steer just a little bit better. And I am certainly going to be ready for a break after this. That sun has just been beaten down. I'm starting to get pretty sweaty and nasty. So it's about lunchtime anyway. So not gonna leave. Still got more tires to drive and maybe another rig to drive if I get to it. But ooh, that was tire. Ooh, noise. That was lug noise against the body. I believe that was tire coming down that. The what we like to see there is for the rear tire to be able to hold the driver's side of the truck. We push it against that. Oops, that's driver error. Okay, can I back that? Need to reset. I want to drive this obstacle properly. So what I'm seeing is the rear tires sidewall kind of let go and allowed the rear to come over the front. Okay. But I also don't think that I had my front tire up on this right. I'm going to have to watch that footage again from the first descent. Okay. Oh, don't tell me none of that was on camera. Son of a gun. Okay. Oh, this is the difficulty with the chest rig. The sun's washing out the screen and I can't see the screen, and I think you just missed a bunch. We had a rollout that originally I thought was the tire. I think it was driver error because I just drove the obstacle correctly and we didn't have any issues. But I'm going to give that obstacle to the Rupture, because even with the driver error, the Rupture felt more stable on that obstacle than the razor wire did. Again, a little bit of that could be due to the insert, which is why this is going to be part one in a series of verses. Now, let's see if the razor wires can do what the rock claws do. Holy crap. Oh. Ooh, don't hit the edge. Oh, no. Okay. That was because I got my tire up on this rock. Okay. There's definitely more forward drive in this tire than there is in the Rupture. Oh man, that sun. There we go. I'm trying to get this done too before the rocks get too much hotter. Now that the sun is full, I keep hitting that rock. I can't see the driver's side of the truck. No, don't drive up on that rock. I think I can drive up this without hooking the side lug. I mean, it just sticks to the rock. It doesn't slide back at all. But several times I've halted my progress now because the driver's side of the truck is hitting that rock. This really is the best place to stand and record. I can't remember with the rock claw if I had to use much wheel speed or not. I think it creepy crawled this. Ugh. But just when I get to the top there, I'm trying to avoid hooking the side lug. I know if I hook the side lug, we can do it. But I'm trying to avoid it because I think it can do it without hooking the side lug. But once I get up top here, I don't know that the course is wide enough to do it really without. I mean, that's better than the Rupture for sure. I might have spent a little more time on that obstacle than I did with the Rupture, but that's because I was trying to do a specific thing with it that the Rupture wasn't showing me that it could even try to do. So the Rupture had to hook the side lug. The razor wire did not. The front did hook just for a millisecond there at the end, but that's because basically the width of the obstacle up there is pretty much the exact width of the truck, and it is what it is. But walked right up, no issues. Now, probably the same with the Rupture on this obstacle. This is our rear diff hang. This is where we like to try to hang the rear pumpkin and see if the front tires have enough drive to pull the pumpkin off. A, I can tell you they will, but B, I think that these are going to be tall enough that it's not even going to hang the pumpkin. Let's see. Yeah. I heard it hit the rock, but it didn't hang at all. on just a little bit easier than the Ruptures. That could just be me taking the better line this time. I mean, definitely impressive on that obstacle. I think that's about a tie with the Rupture. There's not one clear winner over the other. So I gotta say, the undersized inserts on the razor wires are not really hindering them at all. I still plan on doing other comparisons with properly sized inserts because I wonder if they could be even better. But it's definitely not a hindrance. That added bag to the tire that I always say I don't like and everything does not seem to be causing issues, so I can't complain about that. The biggest thing that I'm noticing on the difference between the razor wire and the Rupture, and this is going to be partially a preference thing, that is not necessarily performance related, it is but it isn't, is like I talked about when I showed them side by side, is the thinness of the carcass. The razor wire is a much thinner carcass, and I mean, I'm noticing it wrap a lot more. Now part of that is due to the insert being undersized. Yeah, no, barely the slightest amount of hesitation there. Part of that's going to be due to the insert being undersized, but mostly it's going to be due to that carcass being so thin. Now that carcass being so thin is partially what gives the razor wire some of its performance, but what you risk with a thin carcass is tearing of the sidewall due to wrapping and puncture. It's not something that's guaranteed to happen. You just have to be aware of it, and you have to pay attention when you're driving, and you have to watch the tires. And if you get bound up, you don't want to just throttle out like you would with a thicker carcass tire. And it's not that a sidewall tear can't be repaired. Most can be, at least for a little bit. But a sidewall tear is a lot harder to repair than like I don't know what would be called, a tear like in the tread patch. And it's just something to avoid if you can. Nobody wants a torn sidewall. Nobody wants a torn tire. It's not necessarily a criticism of the upgrade tires. I made the same critique on the Rock Claw. It's just an observation and something to be aware of if you drive them. All right, so what do we think? Razor wire or Rupture? Yeah, that's right. I remounted 2 of the Ruptures just for this part of the video. I do have another set of these beadlocks in blue that are identical that I will use going forward. The reason I didn't use them today is because I'd have to be taking the insert out of the tire anyway, so it didn't make sense to. But anyway, Rupture versus razor wire. Well, as you can see, with the insert that we have, there's a lot more bag on the razor wire than there is a Rupture, and I don't like that. But that's because the insert is undersized, and that really didn't seem to affect the performance of the tire negatively. Or if it did, I can't wait to see what the tire can do with a properly sized insert. So as of right now, I can't see a lot of difference in performance between the two. You know, the Rupture, I think, edged out the razor wire a few times. I think the razor wire edged out the Rupture a few times. I think Upgrade RC basically has made a Rupture contender. It is a little bit taller, but that doesn't matter because the Ruptures don't qualify for Class 2. So, I mean, who cares? You know, they still fit on this rig without too much rubbing. Now, when I get properly sized inserts in there, they're gonna be making a lot of Lexan noise, a lot of cracking against the body, but that's okay. But so far, I mean, these are about as evenly matched as I could wish for. But let's talk price. Upgrade razor wires are $33 for a pair, and JConcepts Ruptures are $27.50 for a pair. So, I mean, I know that tariffs have somewhat impacted the price of Upgrade's tires. They would otherwise be $30, which would be closer, even though that would still put JConcepts as a little bit cheaper. But as of right now, as of this test, because of the cost, I would still give the edge to the Rupture. Now, Don't count out the razor wire yet, because we have not run the razor wire with a properly sized or tuned insert. So coming up, there will be 2 more rounds in this Versus series between these tires. This was round 1. Round 2 is going to be with Crawler Innovations Little Nova foams. The Rupture will get a 475 Crawler Innovation foam with a single tuning ring, and the upgrades will get a 475 Crawler Innovations foam with dual tuning rings. And I believe that that will fill out the difference nicely. I might have to play around with that a little bit. Maybe I'll have to step up the CI to a or the upgrade to a 5-inch CI foam. I've got one set of 5-inch 1.9 CI foams. I think they might be a little too tall for these. I usually run those in like cut and shuts that are 5 1/4. But we shall see. Right now, we've got a pretty even match. JConcepts has the first round on the ticket due to price, but definitely stay tuned, because I don't think the upgrades are quite done. Until next time, everybody, have a good one.